Hello, welcome to another episode of Drinking with Satan. My name is Sean.
Satan, and I am Beelzebub, but I go by
Beelzebub.
Mike.
No, it's Drinking with Comics. So all you, Christian households, it's fine. It's a, endorsed by your local minister. Well, probably not. Okay, anyway. Mike, hello.
A million moms love us.
Yes.
Hello.
It'll be October when this airs. We're recording this on September 30th, so I thought this was appropriate. Also, I got my soul stuck in this thing and I can't get it out. So I just, you
Oof.
know, it actually came
My
off
aura
totally,
hangs
totally
out
different
behind
than
me.
I wanted it to sound. Actually, totally differently. So, what are we drinking?
Today we're doing zombie dust. I
Another
don't think we're a
appropriate.
stranger to this one.
No, this
Yes.
is this is definitely going to be better than the last three Floyds that we had on this fucking show. Oh, oh, take it easy there, buddy. Not you. I'm talking to the skull.
Oh, I'm having okay. Spilling foam everywhere. Ooh, zombie dust. A little hoppier than I like. It's not something I would go to normally.
Oh, now I know. I'm confusing this with Gumball Head. Yeah, that's the one I was thinking. It's like very, very mild, and so I was like, "Wait, why isn't it happy?" But yeah, it's zombie dust. That's right.
Gumball
Um,
HUD makes sense, yeah.
Gumball
But
Head's
still,
very. That's it's probably my favorite by them. But it's good. It's serviceable.
it's I could drink it tonight.
We've got another three Floyds coming up that
Oh,
neither one of us have ever had in a little bit, so watch for that. So we're going to talk about Mike. What are we going to talk about?
oh, Penguin,
The Penguin.
the new hit TV show on Max.
I have to say, the second episode aired yesterday.
Hmm.
I had no fucking intention of ever watching this show. I do not remember the character from the Batman movie because as much as I liked aspects of the movie, it was so fucking long that just parts of it are just fell off. But
Yeah, he was very like for me. It was like, okay, that's the Penguin. Like he's not really very penguiny.
they spoke directly to that with this show, did they not?
Yeah, yes, they really brought him back to being more penguin that I was expecting. I thought he would be more like just the Italian mobster dude, which he still is, but
Yeah, but
they're giving him more flavor, and I like it. I like the flavor they're giving him.
he's
Mm.
very Colin Farrell. First of all, I look at it, I'm like, I just don't understand how it's Colin Farrell. I just don't understand.
I know. I keep forgetting it's him.
I mean, it's insane. It is in the whatever they do to him with prosthetics and makeup and whatever, it's just really, really well done.
Yeah, to think he was Bullseye once upon a time,
Oh God.
right?
Oh. He he has since I think he's a really good actor. But I will say, like after that Daredevil movie, I just remember
I
thinking, like, dude, this guy needs to be fucking put in a fucking chest and dropped to the bottom of the ocean, man. Like, it's just not good.
The director's cut was really good. I remember loving the director's cut when it came out compared to the original. It's like night and day. Um, I don't think it holds up as much now
No.
as yeah, because there's been several better comic book movies since then. But to Ben Affleck's and the people behind that Daredevil movie, the director's cut is very good.
You lent me the DVD. We had this conversation back when I still lived in Chicago. You lent me the
Yeah,
DVD once, and I was like, I'm totally not going to watch this. And I like went to work or something. When I came back, my ex had watched it, and she was talking about it, and everything she was talking about, I'm like, wait, what the fuck are you talking about? That's not the movie. It turns out that they had cut so much shit out that I was like, it sounds like a completely different fucking movie that you're describing than the one that I saw in the theater. Still didn't make me
well,
want to watch
yeah,
it
it
again.
was a completely different movie. There's
So
like a
weird.
whole half hour thing about Coolio.
Hey, man, Coolio.
Yeah, Coolio. But like, it's one of those movies like I would recommend as like to people that I would be like, it goes to show you there's more, like the end product isn't always what they started out to be, and there's shit hits the cutting room floor. It's just, and they did it just for time because they didn't want a long movie.
Yep.
I'm gonna circle this back. Look at this. They didn't want a long movie in the movie theater. They thought it'd be better off as like an hour and 10 minutes, because an hour and 40 minutes was too long, and it had Ben Affleck, who played Batman. The last Batman movie was too long, which starred Penguin. Now we're back on subject.
So yeah, I mean that's interesting that you circle back around, and especially the fact that like that Batman movie, it's not even that it's that long. It's just that there's so much shit in it that I just feel like stuff gets lost. But
Yeah.
I really like the fact that the show picks up very shortly after that movie. So you're still
Hmm.
seeing the ramifications of the damaged seawall and the flooding and whatnot. And you've got like, so this is, they're clearly going the same route as the Joker movies, right? Except it's a different thing. They're not trying to do that, which I respect because I think those Joker movies are, well, I mean, I haven't seen the new one yet, obviously. The trailer
Yeah.
gives me similar vibes. I have high hopes. And the first one was a surprise, a very pleasant surprise. I've seen 3 or 4 times now. I think really it's outstanding. And this is similar in that they're not interested in showing you Batman or anything to do with Batman, right? It's just
Yes.
about this character and the characters around him. And I think that that's extremely smart and it holds its own. It doesn't fucking need Batman. And so DC and Warner Brothers are finally doing something I always criticize them for, and that's have faith in your fucking characters.
Yeah, I
They
agree.
never
It's
do.
I think the last couple of years they've been having faith in their characters. I just don't
Definitely
think
more.
yes, I feel like James Gunn has faith in the characters.
I think you're right about that for sure.
I think the last that Birds of Prey movie had a lot of faith in its characters. I, I I think Shazam also was a solid movie. I'd argue like DC, like someone was telling me like I haven't watched any of the last DC movies because they all suck, and I was like, what are you talking about? Like Joker won an Academy Award. You
Well,
know
that's not really a
what?
DC movie, though. You know what I
It
mean?
is
Like
still a
it's its
DC
own.
movie.
It is, but it's not part of any continuity.
Shazam was a solid, fun movie. Wonder Woman was a solid, fun movie. There's stinkers, but don't let there's just as many bad Marvel movies as there's DC movies out
Yeah,
there.
well, now, yeah,
Um,
for sure.
yeah. Um, don't be so biased against DC. I mean, they're making good shit. It's just go out and watch it.
See, you're probably referencing me saying this because I'm sure that like Blue Beetle or Shazam, I'm sure, but there, you couldn't put a gun to my head and get me to see any of their movies.
I would never make you go see Shazam. Shazam's not for you. Blue Beetle was
Their
okay.
movies aren't for
Yeah,
me. They're just not.
yeah.
That's fine.
Shazam, I watch every Christmas because it's a fun Christmas movie.
Okay.
Like, yeah, it's fun. It's silly. It's fun. Zach Levi is great. It's about it's coming of age, kind of big. It has elements of big in it. It has elements of like
Right.
there's but then there's like the thing that kind of drives me nuts is like it does the exact same ending credits as Spider-Man almost, with like a Ramones song. It's
Really?
like, yeah, it's funny like how, and it works though. I mean, it feels like Spider-Man in a way, like with the last Homecoming, I think it was, or the
Hmm.
first Spider-Man
Hmm.
of the current Spider-Man movies. It has a vibe like that almost some in some points. But it's just, kid gets superpowers and has fun,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
family, and he has to learn to open up with his family. It's good. He's got adopted parents in it that I love. Like the second movie was not as good, but I enjoyed watching because I enjoyed watching the adopted parents. I'm not a big Shazam fan.
No one is.
No one is.
No one is. There's nobody that's like before those movies even was like, I can't wait for him to make a Shazam. Nobody.
Yeah,
Nobody.
exactly. It's funny because it's like the same thing with Peacemaker. Like if you would have told me when I was a teenager that one of my favorite things would be a Peacemaker TV show and a Shazam movie, I would have slapped you and called you a liar.
You're not
But
from the
yeah, here we
future.
are. Yeah.
Well, okay, so with Penguin, I really like it. So first of all, Colin Farrell definitely is like drawing on James Gandolfini's Tony Soprano in a lot of ways.
Yes.
There's like times when I'm like, Jesus Christ, he reminds me so much of him right now, but without like being hokey about, the influence or whatever. And you know, I feel like the opening scene of the first episode, I knew that that was going to be the opinion of whether, okay, I'm in, or I'll watch this first episode because I told Mike would, so told Mike I would, so we could talk about it.
I kind of did the same thing. I'll give it a try. Yeah, the first scene was solid.
Well, just the way it
Uh,
ends with the and then it just cuts. Like I thought that was so great. Like I don't know that it tells you right off the bat this guy's not a. I mean, so he's not a mastermind. I mean, in a way, he kind of is like a low rent mastermind. Like he's not the
mhm.
smartest dude, but he can talk his fucking way out of almost anything. And half of the fun here is going to be seeing like him pinion back and forth between various allegiances and like just narrowly missing being detected as the traitor he is I mean, it's, oh my god.
He's very much no one. He's smarter than everyone thinks he is, but he's not that smart.
Yeah,
If
that's a
that
good way
makes
to say it.
sense. Yeah,
uh
everyone thinks he's a lot dumber than he actually is. He's smart. He's a strategist. He is Penguin, which is what Penguin is. People underestimate him because he looks silly,
yeah, exactly.
but he takes advantage of that and uses it, and that's what he's doing in this, which is that in the waddle is why like okay now this is Penguin to me.
Yeah.
Oh, chasing down Batman with a car, not very penguiny.
No, I mean, hopefully we'll never. I don't think we will ever see Batman in this. I mean, the extent of any kind of a cameo is them is the newscaster in the background, where you don't even see an image.
If
I think they're just like, oh, and the vigilante Batman was helping people out of the stadium or whatever it was.
or he busts up something, I would like to see. Like if he shows up, I would like to see something go haywire because Batman jumped in, but not focusing on Batman. Batman is just like a storm that shows up, like a rainstorm.
Right. Okay.
He's a force of nature. He's not. He doesn't have a story. You don't have to get Robert Patterson to be in the costume. You could just have some dude in a costume show up in the shadows. You don't need. He doesn't need to be. He's not the focus of the story. He doesn't have to talk.
Right. I mean,
He just comes in and
that's
busts up a
fair.
thing. Yeah, yeah.
That's
I would like to see
fair.
that.
I hope that we don't get that at all. I mean, I
Yeah.
still think the only problem I have with the Joker movie by Todd Phillips. The only problem I have with it, because I really fucking like it, I just don't. The scene with just having the Waynes and everything, like I just almost wish none of that was there. Like it was fine to make, Bruce's dad a fucking billionaire scumbag.
I like that he was a scumbag too. Like I like that we see a different side of him because he's always the holy angel of Batman. He doesn't
Well,
do anything wrong.
not always, because isn't now it's been quite some time since I've read it, but if I'm not mistaken, there's a thing in Morrison's 7-year run on Batman where I think it's revealed that like he wasn't really that great, and he was like tied into some shady fucking stuff.
I think throughout the years there was like a thing where he helped Robert Rupert Thorne, which was the big bad guy, also another big gangster. Um, with like his brother got shot, so he helped out his brother or something. It was definitely in the cartoon, I want to say.
Okay.
But he wasn't. He was still a good man. He just, had a oath that he had to like help out somebody, so he did, and then got pulled some strings and got some shady stuff done to do good ultimately. But he was never like the asshole he was like he like in Joker. He is just
Yeah, he's
Joker goes up to the bathroom, is like, hey, I think you're my dad. And he clearly knows he's not. He clearly
yeah.
can correct this thing, but instead he fucking beats him up.
Yeah, he
you
just punches
know,
him once,
like
and yeah, it's a brutal scene actually. I
like
just rewatched it
yeah.
recently. I was like, oh god damn, this is like really
Yeah, he's
rough.
an asshole in this. And I think working that in the way they did, where he thinks he's their brother, is a fun aspect. But yeah, it doesn't need to be any more than I think they worked him in perfectly amount of times.
So Penguin is definitely doing a similar thing, but has a totally different tone. You know, if Joker is one tone or genre, this is a different one. And
Yeah,
it's a mom
Italian
show.
gangster. Yeah,
Yeah, and it really works. And you brought up, so I read Long Halloween, let's say, I don't know. So I never read it. And then when we were doing this show in LA, my former co-host Chris Saunders, who I do a Most Horrible Library with now, he had finally got me to read Long Halloween. Long Halloween was fine. I literally remember nothing about it. So I didn't remember the Sophia, the hangman character.
yeah. And Alberto was the holiday killer too.
Oh, see, I don't remember any of that.
Yeah.
But they're using her, and she's good. Like that actress is really fucking
Oh,
good.
yeah.
Really, really good. Like she's scary sometimes, and she looks like she weighs about 100 fucking pounds soaking wet.
Definitely a different direction because the original Sophia was a very big. I'm
Yeah,
not gonna say like she was muscular. She was built like the Hulk almost. Like she was hulking um woman. Where this Sophie is just a frail little thing that's going to snap you in half if you turn around on her.
I'm really hoping we get like some flash, but like we got a flashback scene in the second episode of her in Arkham, just really brief.
Yes.
I'm hoping we get some flashback of her committing the murders because they referenced she killed 7 women. Um,
Yeah.
man,
Oh, that
I don't
scene
know.
where in the second episode, which kind of bummed me out that they didn't go there with this, where the cousin shows up and they're talking about going out and going to Italy again and getting drunk and it's kind of like a normal conversation and her daughter comes in and she's kind of like, oh no, don't talk to her. I'm just
Yeah,
bullshitting her because she scares me.
yep. Stay away from your Aunt
Brilliant.
Sophie.
Yeah. But that could have been Helena Picarda or God, I can't remember the name. Huntress would have worked perfectly as that character because she's a member of the crime family and
Is
would have
she
been a
really?
great
I
little
don't think I
Easter
knew
egg.
that.
Yeah, Huntress is I don't know Bertelli. I'm probably saying the wrong name wrong. She's also an Italian mob, a former mob. The second Huntress, the post-crisis Huntress. The first Huntress was Batman's daughter. But the second one, when Batman didn't have a kid, they decided to keep the character. So now she was a gangster's daughter. And another gang, either um, one of these gangs families, whose name escapes me right now, gunned down her entire family, but missed her. So her whole Huntress's whole thing is she's going to take down the mob. That's her vigilante
Oh, so she's the fucking
mission.
Punisher.
Kinda, yeah. Just as cruel too.
Take a popular character, give him tits. I mean,
Yeah,
not to sound like, but I mean, it's just a
she uses
comic
a
book
crossbow. She
edict.
doesn't use guns.
It's a comic book edict. I feel like that's
Yeah.
over, the bullpen desk of both of the big two, or at least it was like 20 years ago, 30 years ago. Take a great character, give him
Well,
tits.
keep in mind she wasn't like that originally. She was originally Batman's daughter.
Okay, yeah, fair enough, fair enough.
So she might have getting the splitting hairs whether or not she came out before Punisher or after Punisher. I have no idea. But um, giving her kind of like a Punisher origin, it works. I think it works
Yeah,
because
okay,
it's a
that's
good
fair.
foil for like she can't be trusted by Batman because she kills.
Right, right.
So she's an ally because she's fighting a good fight, although she's killing people. So there's that whole interest aspect to it.
Hmm.
But she's not in the show. That girl has a different name, and I was very sad.
So it looks like oh, I always forget that this is so crazy to me. David F. Sandberg is the guy that directed Shazam because he's this like Swedish filmmaker
Yeah.
who, in like the, I don't remember what, like let's say 2010 circa around, he used to make horror shorts and put them online.
Hmm.
And the biggest one got him into Hollywood, and they made a feature out of it called Lights Out. And the short was just like, it was always him, and I don't know if it's his wife or his girlfriend, but she was always like the star of the shorts, but they were all really good. And then I still haven't seen the Lights Out movie, which is on me. But I remember when he was brought to Hollywood, I was like, oh, good for this fucking guy. And I do remember previously seeing that he had landed Shazam. So it's still not going to make me see it, but I'm just happy for him because I really like the guy. I like those kind of success stories.
Yeah. It did. I think the movie, well, it did well enough to make a sequel. I don't think they're ever going to make another one again, which is a shame because the other one, I'm not going to say is garbage. It's okay, but it's just okay. It could have been better.
Similarly, Penguin is I guess the showrunner and director is Craig Zobel, who I recognize the name, but I was like, what do I know this name from? And I
Hmm.
actually haven't seen these movies, but he did a movie in 2012 called Compliance. Uh,
Okay.
and he did another movie in 2020 that everybody talked about, and I just was like, I don't think this movie's for me, and that's The Hunt, where it was
Oh,
like
I don't think I've seen either of those
it
two
was like a
movies.
political. It's kind of like The Purge, but it's a political satire. And I just was like,
Oh,
yeah,
really?
I don't know. I don't know. 2020 was not the time for
Did I
political
see The Hunt?
satire to me.
No.
I'm fucking Clancy Brown as Salvatore Maroni. That was super cool to see Clancy Brown. Yeah, I don't know. I'm digging the show quite a bit. I'm glad that you mentioned it. Our friend Chris mentioned it to me too. That was between the two of you. You kind of talked me into seeing it. So
Yeah. It's solid. I was like I said, I was shocked how good it was. I'm really like Sophia's really doing it for me, not like doing it for me, but like a fun character.
yeah,
Um, and like I like the kid.
yeah, it's
Did
a
you
good
did you
pairing.
notice he has the same origin as Robin?
Does he?
The Jason Todd. So Jason Todd, when he originally showed up, he tried to steal Batman's tires
Oh,
in the
I didn't know
Batmobile,
that.
and then Batman stopped him and took him under his wing. Um, Same thing. It's just Penguin stopped him and took him under his wing. So it's kind of interesting that he has his own little Robin too. Um,
Yeah, actually, I hadn't even thought of it
yeah,
in those terms, but yeah, oh, 100%.
yeah. And that actor was in Runaways, so it's kind of fun seeing him again.
I read that. I didn't see that show, but I read that. He looked very familiar to me, but I looked him up and
Yeah,
I didn't recognize anything that he was in. Um, but it's a nice device, because
yeah.
you can put like the penguin Oz instead of just calling him the penguin. I think there's only one scene where somebody refers to him as "Hey Penguin," and it's totally like as it's a pejorative, like it's
Yeah,
like "Hey
is
stupid,"
insulting him.
basically.
Yeah,
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 exactly. Which I like that. Um, but Oz can like tell stories and it doesn't come off as just like exposition vomit. You know what I mean? Like there's a bonding going on. And so we can learn things as the kid Victor does. Um
yes.
yeah, Renzi Feliz is Victor. Kristen Milotti is Sophia.
She's the
Um
mom. I
huh?
know you no idea what that is. You remember? You never. I guarantee you never watched the show How I Met Your Mother.
Oh no. I mean I
Yeah,
saw like 5 minutes
you
of it once and was like, oh
you know what it is though, right? Like
yeah,
this is
I
it
know
telling
what
the
it
story
is,
about his
yeah.
mom. She's the actress that plays the mom eventually in the last season.
Sophia?
Yeah,
Really?
so yeah, it's fun seeing
Interesting.
her again, getting somewhere from there to there.
Uh, I knew her from Fargo. She's in some other stuff I'd seen, but I don't remember her being in them. But yeah, so I would definitely say if you're not well, if you're not a comic fan, I don't know why the fuck you're watching the show unless you're a beer fan. But we talk about beer for all of 3 minutes at the beginning, and then we hit the nerd button. So chances are, if you're within the sound of my voice, you're probably a fan of comics. You know, I'm a diehard. I don't want to say I'm anti DC, but I'm really fucking hard on them, and it takes. I just don't care about most of the shit that they do. But this is good, and again, it's nice to see them having confidence in the character. I hope that lasts, and
Yes.
I just like seeing something that I don't know. It's a mob show, you
Quality.
know.
It's good. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. It's well made. It's got the HBO
It's
quality level.
yeah. It's exactly. It's like watching a good HBO show that just so happens to take place in Gotham.
Yeah, agreed. And
Um,
so episode 2 aired yesterday on Sunday, the 29th of September. There's 6 more episodes culminating with a finale on, I think it's November 10th. So you got time to jump in there. So far, they've been an hour and, it's some loose
yeah.
change, like an hour and a minute, hour and 2 minutes. And they're totally fucking, they're easy to watch. They're pretty riveting.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll probably talk about it again in the future, at least the season finale.
Yeah.
I could see us book having that. Yeah, I'm hoping there's more Batman references. I was also let down that the psychiatrist wasn't Jonathan Crane, the Scarecrow, because he sure acted like it.
Yeah, he did. Well, you never know. Maybe it's like who knows? Maybe they'll tie it in
Yeah,
somehow.
I I
Hopefully
kind of
not.
feel like someone was like, yeah, we'll make this guy Jonathan Crane. And they're like, no, you can't use that name because, we might do something different later. And I feel like just let them do it.
Well, at this point, DC, I mean,
Be
their
crazy.
shows and their movies, it's almost like their comics where they really lean into the Elseworlds thing, right? So you can have a million versions of everything. And I just
Exactly.
feel like, I guess, just do that with their movies and shows too. So if this is
I
going to tie into the Matt Reeves Batman verse, fine. There'll
Yeah.
be other stuff that is based on characters that you would associate with that it's not associated with it, but that's fine, I guess.
I guess they when they said, speaking of Elseworlds, James Gunn said that Joker and Batman are considered Elseworlds and go under the Elseworlds title, and everything moving forward that's like DC proper, like Suicide Squad and Superman, and that Creature Commandos is DC proper. So they do Elseworlds, like they're working the Elseworlds into the movies, which is fun.
Yeah, yeah,
Which
it's
is
cool.
great. Like that way you don't have to you can have it all.
You can have it
It's a
all.
good way
Yes,
to have it
definitely.
all. Yeah.
And it's good. It's also good for people like me where I'm like, I don't want to see 98% of the shit that they do. So I want to be free. It was like when Remender was writing Uncanny X-Force back in like 2012. People were telling me to check it out. I was like, fuck that. And then when I started reading, I was like, oh, god damn, not only is this awesome, but like they clearly said, here's your little corner. It ties in, like it wasn't a different continuity or a different like world,
Yeah.
but he was left to do whatever the fuck he wanted. And for a couple of years, it was fucking great that they let him do that.
Was that the gray costumes? Everyone wore the gray and black and gray
Yeah.
costumes? Yeah.
Great. Oh,
Okay.
dude, that series is fucking great. It's so good. Oh. Um, okay, so that's Penguin. Um,
Penguin.
so we got another beer here. What are we drinking now? Age of Otters by Three Floyds. So I've never had this. This is an India Pale Ale, 7% alcohol. I gotta say,
Oh,
man, Zombie Dust I did not enjoy as much as it's a good beer. I just really feel like my palate has like moved away from anything that's like so this is India Pale Ale. I have a feeling it's gonna be very similar. It feels very oppressive.
yeah. Um, we'll find out. It's got a cute otter on it.
Oh my God. I used to really relish the smell of I was never the biggest IPA fan, but like I don't know.
It's not as dark as the last one, was it? Is it?
I'm not pouring mine.
Oh, look at you, fancy man.
It's
Uh,
so it's smoother than I would have expected. Now I still my palate is still hopped out from the fucking zombie dust. So
all right. Hold on here. Yeah, it's like a weaker version. I'm okay with that. I think I like
Yeah.
this a lot more than I like Zombie Dust.
Yeah,
Maybe it's
maybe.
because there's a cute otter on the cover.
Yeah, that definitely helps.
Yeah, look at that guy.
And he's got a
He's seen
fucking
some
battle
shit.
axe. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, like there was a place. I don't know if we ever took you there when in my previous life when you and Amy came out to visit. There was a place in Torrance where I used to work in California. It was a small chain, so there were other ones, but it was called the Counter, and they had really good
Hmm.
hamburgers. And they had, I think it was Arrogant Bastard on tap. And Arrogant
Really?
Bastard is a great example of this is like 2000 like 9, 2008, yeah, maybe 2011, or in that pocket, those years. Arrogant Bastard is totally like just hop it out, and anybody that says they don't like it, we're just gonna call a pussy. Like I just feel like that's their you're not worthy. That's literally like their campaign motto. And
I mean, it's called Arrogant Bastard.
well, yeah,
I
and
feel
so
like
it
Arrogant
fits.
Bastard was one of the first like heavy IPA beers, if I
Yeah,
recall correctly.
but
Because yeah, it was like smacking in the face before everyone else was smacking us in the face.
yeah, and but I remember really enjoying it. Like I remember going to the counter at like 3 o'clock on a Friday when I had the day off, and I never drink at 3 o'clock. But like I got a burger, I'm like I have to get an Arrogant Bastard. And now those words would never come from my mouth ever. I have to get an Arrogant
Yeah.
Bastard. Would never say that sentence ever. So it's interesting how your palate changes as you get older.
This is a lot smoother, but it kind of hits you in the aftertaste. Like this has a stronger IPA aftertaste than Zombie Dust does. If that
So
makes
see, I
sense.
can't tell that because I still have so that's the thing with hops and IPA is they cloy, they cling to the tongue. So I can tell I still have a lot of that on my tongue. So I just like I'm not
I
even
think
really
that's what
tasting
I'm
this.
talking about. Like I'm getting hops, but the hops are like staying in my mouth longer than
Yeah.
Zombie Dust. Maybe
Or
I'm
but it's
not.
building on top of zombie dust. I mean, unless you had like a
Yeah,
fucking saltine or like some gelato between beers, it's not gonna you're not
man,
gonna
I'd love
reset
to.
your palate.
We're gonna have to like get some crackers next time.
Got a
You
couple
have a couple
crackers right here,
saltines.
man. There you go. Love me saltines.
Uh, I'm
Um,
calling you saltine because you ain't nothing but a cracker.
that's right, man.
Yeah.
So what do you want to talk about?
Um. So just a little side note here. I have been reading Back to Batman. I've been reading this tome. Look how thick that sucker
Is
is.
that the fucking Gotham City phone book?
Jesus. Yeah. It is a Robin Compendium #1. All Tim Drake stuff. I am this far into it. I think I finished the first Robin miniseries and a few of the books after that. I am loving the hell out of this. It contains basically all the Tim Drake greatest hits. So it's got the Robin one miniseries. He had a first miniseries he did when he first turned into the costume. Then he did another miniseries
Yeah,
where he fights Joker for the first
yeah.
time, and then he does another miniseries where he teams up with Huntress, and various other comics that lead up to his ongoing series, which just has the first, probably the first 4 issues in.
Okay.
Some Man of Steel stuff, some Robin Annual. The Robin Annual is part of the Bloodline.
Oh, which launched Hitman.
Yeah. 80-page giant. It's just a ton of stuff here for $60. And I bought it because I was just kind of like, I missed it. Like pure
Hmm.
nostalgia on this. Like I was looking through, I was like, oh man, I kind of want to reread this again, and I want to reread this again, and I want to read this again. And I went through my collection and I realized like the various trades that I had. I obviously don't have any of the singles anymore. I sold all my single issues years ago. Um, but it's a lot of like Chuck Dixon stuff,
Okay.
Alan Grant stuff that I've been reading. Um, oh crap, what's his name? One of my favorite Batman artists,
Oh,
Bry
Bregelfold. We talked about this
Bry
last time.
Bryfogle.
Yeah, he's great.
Bryfogle, I think his
I
name
love
is.
him.
Yeah, so it's like a bunch of his stuff with this Batmobile. I adore that Batmobile. Um, I've been just having a blast reliving early '90s, um, you know, comics. Look at Robin there, just showing up in
Yeah.
like probably one of the coolest Robin costumes ever.
Well, yeah,
Um,
because before that they were all, not very cool.
yeah, it was the exact same one for years, and then this is like the second one, and now there's like 30 different Robin costumes in every month, it seems like.
Well, as soon as
But
they got away from the green panties, I feel like they finally,
yeah,
they finally opened up to some better ideas. So
mm,
was he? And I think you talked about this the last time because you mentioned this briefly on the last episode. Was Tim Drake your first Robin? Like, was that where you
yes.
start? Okay.
So when I started reading comics, I can't remember the issues. Detective Comics was the first appearance of Anarchy. It was the first like comic book I ever officially read. When I was a kid, I had G.I. Joe comics and
Yeah, right,
Transformer comics
right.
and various other comics, but I wasn't reading them. I just had them more looked at the pictures. This is like when I was just fresh off of the Batman movie. I wanted to know more about Batman. Anarchy sounded kind of interesting. Fogel's art looked amazing. So it really clung to that. And this takes place probably a year after that, or shortly after that, Robin shows up. So he was very much like there when I started reading comics.
Hmm.
Robin was there. So Tim Drake was always kind of I forgot about this, but Tim Drake was kind of my guy. He was the guy that he was the kid that I was following, and the kid I could relate to in comics
Right,
because he was sort of my age, maybe a little younger than me, but still the journey, someone I could jump on. The journey was there with him.
right.
So it all hit me when I saw this book, and I was like, man, I want to read this again. And I kind of say I've been enjoying the hell out of it. I don't. I'm sure not everyone who's watching is going to be like, oh shit, I got to go out and buy Robin.
So is that a trade? That's a compendium that's currently available.
Yes, it just came out a couple weeks ago, I want to say, maybe a month or two ago. I just remember seeing it on a shelf. I didn't even know it existed until I saw it at the store. And I was like, I need that.
That's pretty cool, man.
And yeah, I've been reading issue night every night, and I've just enjoying the hell out of it. I miss comics like this. Maybe and I hate being a nostalgia guy. I really do.
Well, I mean, and it's
But
interesting.
yeah,
Well,
it's
it's interest. It's interesting because like I have great nostalgia for like Claremont's X-Men. It's not always the easiest thing to go back and read all of it. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
especially some of the like really earlier stuff. It's just the nostalgia is it's like a blind nostalgia. It's like, yes, I'm nostalgic for this because I remember it from this when I was younger and so,
Hmm.
whatever, but it's harder to read. So I was going to ask, like, is it sometimes you have to reset the way that you read comics when you go to previous like comics were just written differently, right? So is it an easy
Yeah,
read? Is it's clearly it's a satisfying read. Is it
it's a satisfying read. I feel like it's easier to read. I feel like for me, and I noticed a change when New 52 came out. Like that's like the point when I stopped reading comics pretty much. Um, but like there was a change in writing style, there was a change in editorial, there was a change in like I couldn't quite put my finger on it, but I would read like Green Lantern was a good book that was coming out that time by Jeff Johns. I know you don't care, but it was a solid read. And I enjoyed the hell out of it. And I was rereading it a couple of years ago, and I got to the point where New 52 came out and jumped in. And it was one of those books that kind of continued with the story.
yeah.
It wasn't like a reset, but there was a change. And I noticed it right away. Like in Jeff Johns' writing style, in the writing style of the books, that there was something like they took away 2 pages, they got rid of um, Green Lantern's girlfriend. He was like trying to date this girl that disappeared because there was no room for that in the story anymore.
Hmm.
And there were subtle things that I noticed that I missed. That was like, oh, this is what I liked in comic books, and you kind of got rid of it, the personal side. And I'm seeing this in this. There's some characters they introduced in that run too that were living in the Batcave with Batman. So there was Batman, there was Robin, there's Alfred, and there was a hunchback guy named Harold
What?
who was, yeah. So Harold was the tech guy, kind of. He was this, like, Batman found him working for, I think, the Penguin actually, and he was making the tech for Penguin, and he's kind of just like a hunchbacky tech dude who Batman like took under his wings, like, oh, you have nowhere to go because you're deformed. You want to live in the cave with me, and you could build my Batmobiles, basically. And there was Ace the Hound. Yeah, this was like his second incarnation of the Bat Dog we
This sounds
found.
like a fucking sitcom cast. Like, what the fuck? You have a wacky
Well,
neighbor that
yeah,
would pop
kind
in.
of. And there's a scene, like, I forgot about this because I was reading this one issue, and, like, Batman's going down the stairs, and there's Harold tinkering on some stuff, and Bathound comes down and says hi, and Robin's doing some studying. I'm like, oh man, look at all that. This is like a weird little family moment there, and
Hmm.
I missed that stuff. Like, um, so I'm enjoying it. There's nostalgia fact to it, but I'm also enjoying this style of writing that I haven't read in quite some time. This is the style I
Okay.
grew up on, I guess. Ooh, date me on that, but
Yeah.
um, yeah. I mean, it's different than, you know, if you read old comics in the golden age, they were very different written. And if you read comics in the
Yeah. Yeah.
silver age, they're very different. Not even like style wise, just how they were written is
Yeah.
very different. This is, you know, inner monologues, characters with thought clouds. I don't feel like thought clouds is as much of a thing anymore.
Oh no, no,
I
there
could
was
be
like
wrong
a
on this.
no, you're not. There was a point I remember reading about this around the time Bendis had been on Avengers for a year or so. So this is going back to like around,
Yeah.
like 2000s. That was just gone. Nobody did it anymore. Now it since has been worked back in a little bit, and as always, I mean, it's just like the mullet or fucking female pubic hair. Like people will get rid of stuff, and then other people will come along a few years later and own that shit, right? Like,
Yeah.
nope, definitely.
So yeah,
I'm not endorsing the mullet.
not the mullet anyways.
No, not the mullet. But
Um, but yeah, like random characters on the street having thought clouds, so you know that, like, this person's like, hey, I gotta go to the store and buy milk. Something he wouldn't say out loud because it makes no sense, but because there's a thought cloud there, you go, oh, he's going to the store to buy milk.
I mean,
Um, yeah,
also, I feel like you could split the difference. I feel like there was at some point in like the 80s and early 90s where it was like there was too much of that shit, and
yeah,
split the difference. Like, let's let's not busy things up. Like if it's important that the character is going to the store to buy milk and he's in the background, you could just have him walk into the fucking shop and pick up a bottle of milk, and you don't have to have, what I mean? Like it's like stuff like that where they
but
were,
it's showing that takes more panels than just one panel with the guy saying it,
not if you do it
which
right, I
leaves
feel like.
you. It could go either way. I mean, it depends on the writer and the artist,
Yeah.
where, like, at least if you're like, you have 6 panels, and, the one panel setting everything up with, I'm going to the store to buy milk, and then you got the other guy like, oh, my kid needs milk, I'm going to mug this guy, and then, you know, showing that takes a couple of panels. That story can't be told in a couple of panels, like in one panel. You have to show them walking to get milk.
Well, or you could just do one panel with the guy coming out with the milk and the other guy to hold them up, and
Well,
then the guy,
exactly.
give me that milk,
But
my daughter needs it. I mean,
yeah,
there's just ways. There's
which is
definitely
true.
there's a storytelling economy that came into things, and part of that was getting past the bull. Part of, like with Marvel, the big thing was Shooter's edict when he was editor in chief was every comic is somebody's first Marvel comic. So that's why every fucking issue Wolverine says, "I'm the best there is at what I do." You know what I mean? Like every issue when he pops his claws, there's some narration thing that says like his claws are adamant, like all of that stuff.
Yeah,
And at some point, it's like, okay, come on. We don't. So it's splitting the difference. I agree. It's nice to see it. I wish I could think of a
yeah.
solid example. So okay. Well, when we get to what I want to talk about, I can go the other way with fucking thought bubbles.
So,
Oh.
anyways, back to Robin. Solid read. I give it, 6. No, solid 8. It's not
Oh,
perfect. I mean,
8 out of 10.
it's 8 out of 10. Yeah, it's not perfect. It's hitting nostalgia for me. Um, there's, I haven't been bored with it yet. Let me just say that.
Okay.
But I haven't, I'm excited that I never read. I don't think I ever read this annual or Bloodlines annual. I think I passed on that when that originally came out. So I'm looking forward to reading that, seeing how bad that is. And I remember buying Robin 3 Huntress Cry, but I think I read 2 issues. I don't remember anything about it. I think I didn't like it. So I'm looking forward to rereading that again, whether I like it or not. And I'm looking
Okay.
forward to rereading this first time meeting Joker, which is, a different Joker than we have now. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's exciting. I'm enjoying this. I can't wait for 2 to come out. I think there's a Nightwing one of these, which I was at first not going to buy, but now I think I might, because I do remember liking early Chuck Dixon Nightwing. Um, Scott McDaniel did the artwork, and he's really good at like comic book motion, I guess you could say. Like you
Okay.
have Robin done from. So I might get that too. But we'll see. Right now, I'm going to read this
Right
for the
on.
next 3 months because that's how big it is.
Now, do you just read one issue a night, or do you read as many as you
Pretty
can?
much, yeah. I read like right before I go to bed. I'll read an issue
Okay.
or two. Usually just one. It's not like I don't really have time to sit back and read comics as much as I used to. Um, Mainly because I'm more busier at work than I used to be. Um, Say when I worked at the Tinley Park store, I was, I had a lot of free time compared to now where I'm like entering stuff in the system and various stuff that has to be done.
Right.
Um, so which I don't mind because it's busy work. It keeps me busy till the end of the day. So it's good. It's good.
Right.
Not complaining. But there were times when I was working at Tinley and I would read like 20 comics.
Right.
You know, and I'd be lucky to squeeze in one a month at work. I just don't have the time. But so yeah,
Oh,
it's and yeah, reading, coming home from work, last thing you want to do is more work, kind of.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah. So the Robin, 8 out of 10 R's.
Okay. Robin Compendium.
All right. So what's your book of the month? What do you want to talk
Oh,
about?
it's not my book of the month, my friend. No,
Oh,
this is the worst comic I've read all year. And I usually don't
hmm.
talk shit. I mean, I am gonna talk shit, but I mean, man. So I have not read anything Distillery, DSTLRY, this newer publisher whose everything is in that like big whatever the new format is that like Black Label uses a lot, like Swamp Thing, Green Hell, and the Batman
Yeah.
Penis series. And um Distillery has nothing to do with DC, but they use that format. And I hadn't read anything they've done yet. I know we have a mutual friend, or Garrett, who I don't know if he still is, but at some point, I feel like fairly recently, I saw he had been reading everything they were doing, and they're drawing a lot of
Yes.
names, big names of creators to do creator-owned stuff. And I really like Jason Howard's art. He did Trees with Warren Ellis, and he did a book that he wrote and drew last year. I think it was called Big Girls, that I liked,
Okay.
which is basically kind of like Pacific Rim, but with giant women. Um,
Oh yeah, I remember that.
and I really like Trees with Warren Ellis and him. I really, really like that series, and I love the art. So he is drawing this book called The Missionary.
I'm Missionary. Okay, I was curious which one you bought.
It's written by Ryan Stegman, who did the art for Donny Cates' Venom series. I mean, he's done a lot of other stuff. That's primarily what I know him from, and I love his art in that. And I was like, oh, it's cool. He's like writing this, right? And there's been a lot of examples of artists in the last 15 years who have written comics, and it's like, oh, like usually I see him as an art credit, but now he's got a different artist and he's writing, and some of them have been really good. I'm like, here's a big one. Becky Cloonan did Southern Cross with Andy Bellinger, and she's known for art, but she only wrote that. That is one of my favorite books, and God damn it, I wish they would bring it back. Never finished, but whatever. There's other examples of that. Um,
There's also bad examples of that too.
well, so the whole
Yeah.
first generation of Image Comics is arguably a bunch of artists that had gathered so much hubris because people love them that they're like, we don't need, I want to write my shit, so I'm gonna,
Hmm.
and I mean, McFarlane is one of the smarter ones because I feel like he very quickly realized what spawned, like, oh shit, I don't know how to write. So here, Alan Moore, Neil Gaiman, like, let's just go, you guys can all take a turn at my party, right?
Yeah.
Man, the Missionary is way more like first generation Image. I have not loathed a comic book the way one was
Oof.
written in a very long time, the way I loathe this. I don't even have it to show you. I'll put in pictures, but usually, if you watch a show, I like to have it here.
Yeah.
It took me a while to read. Like, I mean, I kept putting it down. I'm like, God, this is so fucking bad. Uh, it starts so because and you will appreciate this, and anyone that worked in any kind of a bookstore or comic store will appreciate this, because I used to work at a Borders and I was an inventory manager. I have a very good grasp on a lot of stuff that I've never read and never would read, but I know what it is. I know who the author is. I
Hmm.
basically know what it is. Like I know what the story is, or essentially. And I'll never forget there was this guy. His books were really big in the 2000s with in the independent reader section, which is like you've got your regular fiction, then you've got your young adult fiction, then you've got your independent reader. So I think it's like, let's say it's roughly 9 through 13. That's the ages. It's like your
Okay.
Percy Jacksons and I don't know what else,
Oh,
but
okay. Like your Harry Potters, your Percy Jacksons,
yes,
Ender's
yeah, I guess Harry Potter
Game.
would be independent reader. I think, even
Yeah.
though I've never read Harry Potter, I never will, but I think that they're
Yeah,
written
but you
in a,
you know
they're
enough
written
about, yeah.
but they're written in a way where I think they transcend that a little bit. I think they're a little bit more literate than that. But anyway,
But
they're
I feel like all that stuff is trying to catch that fire, if you
yes,
know what
yeah,
I mean.
yes,
Yeah.
well said, well said.
Yeah.
So I knew of these books called Cirque de Freak that were big in that section. They were like independent reader horror books, right? So essentially a modern Goosebumps, I guess.
Yeah.
And I mean, I've never read Goosebumps either. I'm too old for that, but I know what it is. So I remember when Darren Shan put out like a book that was not in the independent reader section, it was in the regular horror sci-fi section. I remember like it was kind of people were like asking for it. I was like, oh, this seems like it's like a big deal or whatever. Oh, it's the guy that writes these Cirque du Freak books. And I just remember picking it up and looking at it, and like the opening starts with a blowjob. Right. It's like I think it was like a priest or somebody getting a blowjob. And I just remember thinking
Well,
like
good for the priest.
now, I just remember thinking, you know what this is? This is Bob Saget. Where the problem with
Hmm.
Bob Saget is, I saw him. I mean, he was not funny because I saw him live once. His whole act is so obviously curated so that I'm not the guy from Home Improvement. And I'm gonna make sure you know that because every joke is gonna be so over the top with fucking blowjobs and tits and cum and this and that, where it's like
I
this
laugh because he
sucks.
isn't the guy from Home Improvement. He's the guy from
For whatever his show was,
different. Yeah, yeah,
I don't know this show, whatever this show is, Full House. That's it. Whatever.
yeah. There we
So
go.
So this book, The Missionary, reminds me of that book because it literally opens with a fucking blowjob. And like the first page, there's even like it's like my name is whatever the character's name is, and I've never had a blowjob. And then like his wife is blowing a priest, and then it's in like they intercut like him like spying on them with like the priest is like, where do you want me to come? And she's like, my face. I'm like, this is what is this? Like this is so over the top from right from the beginning. Tell me that you're trying to distance yourself from being known for working for Marvel without telling me that. Like, good God. And and then it's like this guy, the like shitty husband or the husband that's his wife is cheating on him. A demon comes out of nowhere and bonds with him, but then like it's not even like it goes into these internal dialogue things where they're talking like, okay, the demon is red and he's blue, or vice versa, and it's like, the demon's like, man, you're so concerned about this blowjob, maybe we should. And the guy's like, no, I can't do this, and the demon's like, oh, hey, but come on, man, don't let people treat you like this, and it's just the stupidest. It's just so fucking bad. It pissed me off, made me embarrassed for them, like Howard's art is fucking great, and it is just wasted. And they introduce all these angels and these priests that have like powers or gun. I don't even fucking know. And it's like there's this like super fast world building trying to take place, and I'm just like, this is none of this works. It's
And
so
this is
fucking bad.
Missionary, right?
Missionary,
Okay.
and when you make it through, if you make it through this comic and you get to the end, the last page is like, look for the Missionary #1 not safe for work edition. And I'm like, okay, okay. So are you fucking kidding me right now? You're a comic that doesn't have to have a version that's your go-to should just be not safe for work, especially if you're starting your story with fucking blowjobs, right?
Yeah. So there's a not safe for work version you have to buy after.
After you read it, so what they're trying to entice motherfuckers to go out and buy it again. So that like,
Yeah.
and everything about it, I just was like, I don't know shit about Distillery except this, but this right off the bat is like not a good look. I'm not interested in
No.
anything else they're doing. Um,
I think because you should probably give. I haven't read any distillery books myself, but I think you should probably give them another chance in the sheer fact that like it's all creator owned, and this creator clearly is you picked the wrong one. Is what I'm getting at.
yeah, maybe. I
I
mean,
know. I know Sama.
oh, it's the Becky
SOMO.
Cloonan.
Yeah, I think that one's been really good. I haven't read it yet, but I've heard good things about it. So I mean, there's good ones out there. I just don't necessarily think this. Everyone's got a stinker here and there. No publishing company's got perfect.
Of course, and
Yeah,
it's creator owned. But man, God, I
yeah,
just, oh my God, it's just not good.
yeah.
It's just not good. Not safe for work. How about, not worth my time?
That's like the
And
Marvel Red Band
NWYT.
edition. Like,
That's exactly what it made me think of.
yeah,
But at
this is
least
like
like those
we're
are on
just
the
gonna
shelf
do
at the
adult
same time.
content. Yeah, you have a
Like
pick.
to get to the end of the comic and see that, like, I don't know if it was like still going to be released, but it was definitely not on the shelf when there was quite a few copies when I picked it up. And man, I don't know. I was really disappointed. I was really disappointed in it. I will not be reading it. I may just give my copy back to my comic shop and be like, if you can resell it, resell it. Because I just like I don't have it because and it's magazine size, so I have one magazine short box, and I just as soon as I got through it, I took the other boxes off the top of the magazine short box because it's at the bottom of the stack because it doesn't get used that often, and
Yeah,
put it in there, and then because I just don't even want to fucking see it. Like I was tempted to just set it on fire. It is really nice
I
looking though. I
I
love the format. I
thought
love his
that's what you
art.
were gonna do with it.
What? No, I was close,
I
man.
thought for sure you were gonna burn it.
I was pretty close. It was really just really bad.
I
And
do. I have, like I said, I haven't read any distillery books, but they do look very pretty. I'm interested. I love and hate the format. Like it's annoying that it's so big.
Well, there's still no bags and boards for that format, right?
Oh, it's magazine bags and boards.
I don't know,
It's
man. I
magazine
tried a
size.
magazine bag and board
No,
on that, and it did not work.
depend on the magazine bag and board you bought.
Well,
But
I didn't buy one. They had some.
I
They
bagged and
have
board
like
them.
okay,
So I
okay.
have bagged and board them. I've definitely bagged and board them. Uh, so it's definitely magazine size. Yeah.
Well, I mean, luckily I don't give a shit about preserving it, so it just went
Yeah.
in, it went into the fucking short box naked, and that's how it will fucking stay,
There you go.
unless I pull it out and fucking urinate on it, which is possible. It was it
You
was
can reread
really
it in
bad.
20 years and be like, holy crap, this is amazing. How did I get
No,
this wrong?
that is definitely not going to fucking happen. Definitely not going to happen.
And that was Ryan Stegman who wrote that?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not gonna. I don't want to make any. I don't want to say. I want to say stick to drawn, but I mean, obviously, this is what he wanted to write. So if this is what he wanted to write, fine, great. Like pursue what you want. But I just maybe it's just not for me. I just felt like it was really transparently bad, like
Yeah.
cringy approach to stuff, and like I said, like just like flip book world building, where I'm like, what I'm supposed to know or care? What do you fucking talk about this gun with this cross on it, and it. All the I don't know. It was man. It was just it was bad. It was really bad. I was
So,
very disappointed.
Missionary, you give how many missions? What's your rating on Missionary?
So I would go. I got to do like a 5-point scale. I'll give it 2.5. No, I can't. I mean, Jason Howard's art is fucking awesome. So
No,
the
give
art
it two and a
that's
half. Go on a 10 scale. Raise the scale, not the. Yeah, I give it
it,
2.5 out of 100. You
see,
know.
but the art's great, but it doesn't matter
Yeah.
because it's that image thing. It's like, who cares if the art's great if the story fucking blows? It doesn't
Yeah.
matter. So it's just, I give it 1 star, and that's really just because
Okay.
like you completed a comic, great, and like the art is great, but as a comic, it's just not good. It's a narrative of any kind. It's just not good at all. I just didn't feel like the artwork with the story in any way that like I it just anyway, I'll stop. I'm belaboring the point, but yeah, I was really disappointed, man. Probably about as disappointed as the Werewolf by Night I complained about last month. Shame on me for assuming it would be good, right? Um, that's really more on me. This, I was like, I
Well,
thought creator owned, indie press, like,
you
okay, this
gave
will
it a
be cool.
try. Yeah, I don't know. I've seen a couple of distillery. Obviously, I think distilleries like Boom and Image just bigger format. And it just depends on what you like. And clearly, this isn't it.
No, it's
I
definitely
like
not it.
I like looking at distillery books. I think I thumbed through that one. I didn't really read it, but I have high hopes for distillery if that makes sense. Like I
Yeah, I
want it
mean,
to
I
be,
kind of do
yeah.
too. I
Like
like,
one of these days I'm gonna read some of these. I just haven't gotten it, but um, yeah, and I like their name, distillery.
yeah,
It's a fun name. I like their format. They're doing something different, and yeah, I'm trying to say something positive for the distillery people that are gonna watch this.
they're
When they
not.
go,
Like,
yeah, I
look,
know.
I was being a little rash, like judging the whole company by this at the
when
beginning, but
when Ryan Stigman tunes in and is like, "Oh, these guys, oh, drinking with comics."
that's
I,
fine.
I don't want him. I don't want him to kill himself because of our review.
I doubt that would happen. But and like I feel like I'm pretty. I feel like I'm a person who goes out of my way not to be negative
Yeah,
on the internet
there's
because there's
that.
just so much of it. I'd rather talk about what I
I
like, but
I'm I'm on the same boat, and I think Kevin Smith recently hit it. I don't know if you heard that quote from him recently.
mm,
Like he was on a podcast and they asked him like, "What movie do you hate?" And he's like, "Look, I just had a heart attack. I just, went through all this stuff and I'd rather dwell on stuff I like and never dwell on anything I hate.
yeah,
Like, and it, like, in people." people look that up, link below, whatever. But it was probably one of the best quotes. Like that sums up how I feel about comics. And I think you feel the same way. It's just like
I do. There's so
there's a
much I
lot,
like.
but you get burned every once in a while. You gotta let that shit go somehow, and this is a good
Yeah.
format to do that. Then there's no like, and there's nothing wrong with that. I don't think if you do it right, if you kind of come off like some right wing newscaster like Fox News, Newsmax dudes just fucking hates everything and everything's bad, blah blah blah, and that's like your shtick, which is not what we're doing.
No, it's not what we
It's
do.
it's awful, yeah. Like we see the good side, we have high hopes for your stuff. It's just it's bad. Like there's no
No,
sugarcoating that. Yeah,
agreed. And usually I won't talk about. I mean, yeah, I don't know.
yeah. It's wasted energy at points.
Well, this was definitely. I had to get this off my chest because
Oh no,
I was really disappointed. I was really, really
yeah.
disappointed. I was really looking forward to that book, man. I was really looking forward to it. I picked up, I don't know, 4 books last week. It was like Saga 69, which had like the best cover. Um, because leave it to Saga to lean into 69. I was just, oh
Did
god, I
they?
fucking love you.
I
Yeah,
didn't
oh
even
yeah. Look at
notice
the
that came out last week. This is how
it
awful I
it,
am.
it was cool. Zach Kaplan or Zach Thompson's into the Unbeing #4 came out, and that book has just been a total surprise.
What was? Oh shoot, I meant to look it up because you talked about it last time. There was that one book you bought that your last time we were talking, and there was you really loved the artwork on it. You were really excited about the artwork. I think
Um,
Brett Spears was the artist.
oh, yeah, it's Mark Spears' Monsters.
Mark Spears Monsters. Okay. I meant to look
Yeah,
that up and I didn't see it and I couldn't remember what it was and I was going to check
it
that out because you're really excited about it and I wanted to check it out and complain about it.
the story was fine. It's a first issue and it introduces like it's like his take on like the Universal monsters or whatever. I'm unfamiliar with him. You brought up that you thought he had been around even from like back in the early days of Image, and I vaguely know the name, but not in any way that I was like, oh, I couldn't put my finger on it. But
Yeah, I might
I
have
mean,
gotten some of the books wrong, but the Spears name does ring a bell. I'd have
okay.
to bebop it, but my phone is recording me right now, so I can't do that.
The publisher is Keen Spot. I'd never even heard of that. I'd never even heard of this. I just happened to see it. My friend Ryan at Rick's pointed out to me. The art is just fucking outstanding, man. Like, oh my God. I don't know. It's photorealistic in a lot of ways. Really cool colors, and I'm definitely interested. So see, like, well, I guess we're talking about it now, but yeah, that's a book like I would definitely recommend, especially if people like Frankenstein, Dracula, and all that stuff's really kind of come around again recently, where
Hmm.
you got so the Missionary was the #2 book I was looking forward to reading. This week, the #1 was Michael Walsh's Frankenstein issue 2, because I love Michael Walsh. I love the Silver Coin. And his take on Frankenstein has been really interesting in that he's doing like, oh, my book's more about like the body parts. So you learn the story of all the body parts that make up Frankenstein's monster.
And this is the Universal Monster Universe stuff, right?
Yeah, I guess that's what Images. I don't really know. Well, so yeah, they had Tinian and Martin Simmons, they do Department of Truth. They did a Dracula take. I didn't read
Yeah.
that.
And I think there's a Creature of the Black Lagoon.
Dan Waters and somebody, I forget who the artist was, did Creature of the. Actually, it might have been Dan Waters and Ram V. I forget, but there's this Creature of the Black Lagoon. I read the first issue. It didn't blow me away. I love the Creature of the Black Lagoon. I was like, I mean, I'm trying not to pick up extra books right now, and I'm failing. So I make lacerations where I can. So that was one of the ones. It's like, first issue didn't grab me, whatever. But this Frankenstein I've been waiting for, and I'm really digging it. I love it. Fucking loved it.
Nice. Do they tie in together yet, or?
I don't know because I haven't read the other one.
Oh,
So
you haven't read the others yet. That's
I
right. I
don't think
apologize.
they do, and I don't know that they will. I don't know what Image's game plan is for this stuff,
That's what I'm
but
more
it's
curious
cool.
about, like, because yeah, it's like GI Joe and Transformers, but their own universe.
Yeah.
Yeah, wouldn't it be great if it was all tied together? Dracula, like Cobra Commander lifts up his mask and it's Dracula all along. Destro
Well,
takes
so
off his helmet, he's Frankenstein.
so that brings me to my question, my final question, Mike. Uh, not uh, restricting yourself to the Energon universe. Who do you think Zartan is this week?
I think Zartan is the professor or the psychiatrist in episode 2 of Penguin.
Ah, good choice.
Yes. He's the actor was in he was in Cage, the Cage series, which was
Okay.
really good. And he did a really good job on that. I was very excited to see him back. And I feel like he's not a big actor, at least to my knowledge. He might be like a rom-com superstar. I have no idea. Um, or like law drama doctor superstar. Once again, I have no idea. Um, but he was one of those actors like, oh, I know that guy, and that seems like a very small role for that guy. So
Right.
it makes sense that he was actually Zartan all along. Or who do you think?
I think Zartan is Perry Farrell.
Oh man, was Cobra's plan all along to break up Jane's addiction?
Because Cole Slither's going to take over the tour spot, man. No doubt.
Oh, that makes sense. Yeah.
No fucking doubt. Ah, okay. So that's Drinking with Comics.
Yeah.
I'm Sean.
I'm Mike, or
Yeah.
Beelzebub.
Beelzebub.
I'm Beelzebub. That's Satan. We
And
drank
we'll
some
be
hoppy
back to pick
beer.
you up later.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Sean. Join me and my friends every week for the Horror Vision, where we talk about horror movies.
Darker than you'd think for a Shazam movie.
Wait, well, I mean, does he fight the
Yeah.
Dark Lord?
He fights Mark Strong,
Ah,
which if you know my wife, is why we
yeah.
watch this movie every
I
year.
was just gonna say now I know. It's funny as hell.